Hi friends, I recently pulled out an old technique, stamping on velvet. And in my last video, I had said that I would be showing you how I take those pieces and turn them into cards and bookmarks and journals. And oh my goodness, I did not expect this. So today I'm going to show you what I ended up making. Now let me start by showing you the velvet pieces that I stamped and demonstrated in my last video in case you missed it. And these I think turned out really well. I only had red velvet to play with except for a little bit of pink velvet ribbon that I'll also show you later on in the video. And they turned out really well. I love the detail. So I'm going to make some cards starting with these two pieces. These are from Nature's Wonders. All of the stamp sets I'm using today are retired from Stampin' Up. I'm pulling out my stash and having a blast using all my goodies. I'm using Fairy Vanilla for my first card and a piece of real red cardstock, and I ran my stitched rectangular die on the center of it to save that for another card because this Fairy Vanilla piece is going to get layered on top. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the frame down to my card base. I'm pulling in my Stampin' Spritzer that has a bit of real red as well as some cherry cobbler ink refills in it and just giving my paper a light mist. I'm also going to use my blending brush to add some of that cherry cobbler ink around the edges just to give it some more depth. Now this was a Saturday night play night for me in my craft room, so I pulled out all kinds of stamp sets retired from Stampin' Up. Wasn't exactly sure which ones I'd be using, but I was gravitating towards vintage stamp sets and text sets, and I just really had a great time pulling out stamps that I hadn't used for years. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the decorative border stamp, actually nope, sorry, I'm taking the splatter stamp first and stamping it onto my layer with some cherry cobbler, and I decided to add a little bit more of that cherry cobbler ink as well on the edge and on the center just to break up some of that Fairy Vanilla. Okay, now I'm going to stamp the border edge using black memento down along the side. Now I'm going to be pulling in a stamp set that I bought off Amazon because I wanted to use one of the circular stamps, I can't think of the name, like a postmark. And the only one I had in my Stampin' Up! Sets had the Eiffel Tower on it, and I didn't want that, so this was perfect. Now I'm pulling in another retired Stampin' Up! Set to add another element, and I'll have a list of the supplies that I used over on my blog. Okay, next up, I wanted to add another border along the bottom of my layer here, but I wanted it to be a little bit more on the lacy side. So I stamped it twice along the bottom using the black memento. And just a heads up, I have the full unedited video that's not been sped up over on my Serene Stamper Studio for members. So if you guys want to watch this without it being sped up and me chit-chatting and just having fun in my stamp room, that's over there for whoever's interested, as well as the members of my community there. Okay, now I'm going to try using a die to cut my stamped velvet. And for the most part, it worked. I did need to use my scissors just to trim it up a little bit. But I did read that if you want to cut fabric, especially velvet, with a die, it's better if you put a little bit of paper or cardstock underneath it. So I would try that next time. But I did get the stitched outline from that die onto the velvet, which was pretty cool. I am adding a piece of cardboard behind that cut velvet piece just to give it a little bit more structure and weight before I go ahead and glue it onto my card. I love this type stamp from the Quiet Meadow stamp set, so I'm going to add that along the center of my cardstock, and it just was perfect. And look at that. So I am going to now stamp the Sending Hugs sentiment. I'm going to stamp it a couple of times using my Stamparatus tool just to get that sentiment really good and crisp and bright. Now I'm just going to glue on my stamped velvet piece, and that's it for this card. Really easy, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. For card number 2, I pulled out a basic black card base. Now these cards measure 5.5 by 4 1/4 when folded, and a piece of basic white that measures 5 1/4 by 4, and a piece of designer series paper from my scrap basket. And I wasn't quite sure how this card was going to turn out, and this was an interesting one because after I completed this card, I decided I was not super thrilled with it. And so later on in the video, I'm going to show you what I did to kind of kick this card up a notch, and I ended up just loving it. But for now, I'm just going to show you the basic steps that I took. The strip of pattern paper measures 1.5 by 5 1/4, and now I'm stamping on the sentiment with real red ink. Now I'm just gluing this velvet piece directly onto my card without any cardboard backing, and it worked fine. And then I just adhered the front layer to the card base and a piece of paper on the inside of the card. I'm just adding some sparkly gold trim, wrapping it around the card and tying a bow. And I decided I wanted to add a second bow just to give a little extra dimension. And then I thought this card was done. But you guys won't believe how this card turned out when I came back to it, which you'll see later on in the video. When you see how I finished this card, leave a comment because I'd love to know what you prefer, this one or the way I ended up finishing it. Okay, moving on, butterfly card. Now I had used my musical notes stamp set to stamp on the velvet, and then I stamped the butterfly on top of it. And now I'm just going to go ahead and take my perennial postage die and cut a piece of basic white cardstock into a square. So I'm just getting it all positioned on my machine, and then I'm going to run it back through to make a square. This card was really quick and easy to make. I did some heat embossing as well. So I'm just going to let you watch with a little music, and you can see how I finished this card. Now I decided to kick things up a little bit on this card, and I pulled in a sealing wax kit that I have had for quite a few months and have not used it. So I pulled it out to add a fun little element to this card. If you're interested in getting this kit, by the way, I do have it listed in my favorite craft essentials list on my Amazon, and you can find the link for that in the description below. I was really impressed with this kit, I must say. So I ended up taking some wax. I used a red and a gold wax, put them in the little spoon, let them melt, and then I just twirled them ever so slightly and poured the wax onto the card. And then I just used one of the wax stamps, sealing wax stamps that I already had for the wedding invitations that I made when my husband and I got married, and I said love on it. So that's what I used. There could have been a little bit more wax, but it turned out really well, and you can easily read the word love. That card is done, and now I'm going back to this card that I mentioned to you earlier that I just felt it needed a little something something. It just wasn't quite, I don't know, it wasn't speaking to me. So I went through my stamps, I pulled out some coffee paper that I had dyed, and I just started tearing paper, stamping paper, gluing paper, and I just could not believe the difference just a little bit of that stamped coffee paper made on this card. And then I also created a super neat embellishment using my wax seal stamps as well as some crystal effects. Now, this is where I got really super duper creative. You can see the fingers going. I'm thinking, what have I got for an embellishment? I wanted an antique-y, vintagey, metal type embellishment and didn't have one. So since I had my wax seals out, I decided to kind of make my own. So I used a combination of gold and I think black. Maybe it was dark gold and light gold. Either way. That's what I used in the wax, and the wax seal has the Tree of Life image on it, but I'm going to be covering that up with some stamping. So I'm waiting for that wax to melt, and then I'm going to pour it on. I'm going to swirl it. That's what I meant to say earlier. Swirl the waxes together, and then I'm going to press my stamp down and wait till you see what I do next. The seal looks beautiful as it is with that Tree of Life, but I really wanted a black heart. So it turns out the wax seal punch measures 3/4 of an inch perfectly. So I found the circle punch that fits that, and then I found a little heart from a paper pumpkin kit, stamped it with black StazOn. Now I know you're not supposed to use StazOn really on photopolymer, so I cleaned it right away. But because I knew I was going to be covering this with glossy accents, which is the same thing as Crystal Effects, I didn't want the ink to bleed. So that's why I used StazOn instead of Memento. Now look at this. It fits inside that wax seal perfectly. So all I'm going to do is add some glue down my little circle, and then, and I'm sponging some crumb cake around the edge a little bit, just to continue with that vintagey look with the coffee paper I've got going on. So I'm just gluing it down, and then I'm going to fill it in with my glossy accents and let it dry. And ultimately, you guys, I can't tell you how happy I am with this card now. Just love it. Sometimes you have to walk away from a project or a card, and then you come back and you're like, oh, what if I do this? And then you're so much happier with it. That's what I find anyhow. It really helps sometimes just to walk away, take a little break, and then it just all comes together. Okay, moving on to my next cards, I have pulled in some paper that I had previously dyed with coffee, and I used stencils on them, and I do have the video for that. And I'm just picking the stamped velvet pieces that I want to use on these cards. As you can see, I'm just trimming up my velvet pieces a little bit, and then I'm going to sew them directly onto my coffee stained cardstock. As a side note, I did glue them down just a little bit to hold them in place so they don't shift a little bit when I'm sewing. Okay, here they are sewn on, and I'm just simply going to glue these right onto my card base. The stitching is not perfect, that's what I'm showing here, but that's why I'm a stamper, I'm not a sewer. And now this piece, I'm kind of going on a tangent here, this piece had a stamped image that I lifted the stamp off too soon when I was stamping it onto my velvet, so half of the image, which was a Lavinia fairy, didn't show. So I wanted to use that piece of velvet. I didn't want to waste it, and so I'm pulling in a piece of velvet ribbon that I had stamped using brown StazOn ink, and I'm going to glue it onto this piece and make a card with it. I'm also pulling in some more of my stamped coffee paper, and I'm going to layer that between the crumb cake card base and the velvet. I also wanted to pull in a stamp image that had more of a typewriter font versus the scrolly script font that I already had on some of my coffee paper. So that's what I'm doing here. I also pulled in some different elements, as you can see, and I'm using both crumb cake and some soft gray on this coffee stained paper. I really love playing with my stamps and my inks and papers like this. No rules. And just let the creativity flow. And I had no idea how this was going to turn out. But I will tell you, the contrasting coffee dyed papers and the stamped images on the following cards just looked amazing in my opinion. I just loved it. Okay, I am just going to leave the music on for a few minutes and let you watch my process of creating and designing as I go along making these cards. Moving on to my last two cards, I'm using sentiments that are from my Serene Stampers sentiment sheets. So if you have subscribed to my newsletter, these are the sentiments that you receive as a free printable, and the link for that is down below. So I just printed these sentiments on some coffee stained computer paper I had done and trimmed them up, and now I'm just going to sponge around the edges a little bit, glue them onto the cards, and just keep these cards pretty simple. The card bases are crumb cake cardstock, and these two cards ended up becoming, I think, my favorite out of all of the cards. Now, I really did pull out all the things when I was making these cards. Like I said earlier, my friends, this was a Saturday night craft session, and I was just really having fun pulling out everything. So I've got some hemp twine, I've got some embellishments, I've got some coffee stained lace, just lace I picked up from the dollar store that was white, and I stained it with coffee. I have all kinds of odds and sods. Now, the first card that I'm working on, I'm going to add just a little bit of lace and some coffee paper, add some embellishments and my sentiment, and then it's done. This card turned out to be my favorite out of all 6 cards, and it's honestly the simplest. So I have some lace. It actually is crumb cake lace, but I have no idea where I got it. So I'm just trimming it up, and I'm going to layer this onto my card with a little bit of tear and tape. I used a glue dot to add a linen thread bow that I had made. Wasn't quite sure where to put it, so I decided to put my sentiment down first. In my craft stash, I have some Stampin' Up! Trinkets. These were anchors, and it's like a tarnished gray color, and I wanted it to be gold. So I pressed that trinket into my Versamark ink, and as you just seen, I just covered it with gold embossing powder. I'm holding it in place with my Take Your Pick tool and sapping it with my heat tool. So now I have a gold anchor. Perfect. So I'm adding on some gold dots, and I decided to thread that linen thread through the anchor and tie a bow and just adhere it onto my card using mini glue dots. And I just love how this turned out. Okay, so here's this card that I made. Too close to the camera. There you go. Really love all this extra stamping, the spritzing on the card. Love, love, love. This one was pretty simple. And speaking of love, I love the love stamped wax seal there. Simple. So happy that I revamped this one. So much happier with it. And then there's this one. That was so much fun as well. They were all fun. No plan, no idea what I was going to be making, no idea how the cards were going to turn out. Just literally just play, 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 play. Very vintagey with that shot of red. I am glad I added that because it ties in the tones of the coffee paper. And then the background, speaking of coffee paper, there's a lot going on with this card. The stenciling, the coffee dyeing paper, the velvet, the stamped velvet, the layers, the textures. Did I tell you what this said? Thought of you today, smiled, sent a card. I just love that. And again, this is one of these, both of these sentiments are on my free Serene Stamper sentiment sheets that you can download. If you haven't already subscribed to my newsletter, the link's down below, and you will receive my free printables that you can use for free. And you might get the odd little email from me too. And if you've already subscribed, you more than likely already got these. If you have subscribed to my newsletters, you guys, and if you've not received these sentiment sheets, please let me know because I want to make sure you get them. Okay, and then the last card, simple but fun. I must say, working with velvet like this has really reminded me that some of the nicest ideas come from playing with what we already have instead of chasing the next new thing. And look how that white is just so bright compared to these vintagey colors, right? And yeah, if you enjoyed this, guess what? I have a new project to share with you because in today's video I did not get to the journal that I want to make. So in my next video, there's now going to be a part 3, I'm going to be using stamped velvet to make a journal, specifically using my velvet where I stamped the old world map on it. So I've got a plan for that, and I would just love to know if you'd like to see more videos like this. You're always welcome to subscribe, and if you feel like leaving a comment, please do, because I love to read them and I love hearing what you're working on. So thank you so much for spending time with me today. I appreciate you very, very much. Take care, and until my next video, happy stamping.